No one was supposed to find this. Spring 1900. The sea around the tiny Greek island of Antikythera looked calm from above. Beneath the surface, the water turned black almost immediately, a cold vertical abyss. Sponge divers from Simi anchored near the rocky coast to escape violent winds. They were not archaeologists. They were fishermen in heavy canvas diving suits. Men who descended into darkness carrying knives and weighted boots. On April 4, 1900, diver Elias Stadiatis stepped off the boat and vanished into 50 meters of water. The descent was slow, silent. The deeper he went, the colder it became. Sunlight dissolved into green haze. Sand drifted upward like smoke. Then shapes emerged. Bodies, dozens of them. Human figures scattered across the seabed. Arms reached outward through the darkness. Faces stared upward with empty eyes. Some appeared buried beneath collapsed beams and amphorae. Panicked, he cut the retrieval line and was pulled rapidly back to the surface. When the helmet came off, witnesses said he was trembling uncontrollably. He muttered about naked corpses and horses lying at the bottom of the sea. The crew assumed nitrogen madness had affected him. But the next diver descended and returned with the severed bronze arm of a statue. Suddenly everything changed. The bodies were statues, ancient ones. Beneath them lay one of the greatest shipwreck discoveries in human history. The Greek government launched the first major underwater archaeological recovery ever attempted. Navy vessels arrived. Divers returned again and again into the crushing depths. Every descent carried risk. Currents slammed against jagged rocks. At that time, divers had no decompression science, no underwater lights. Several became paralyzed. One died. Still, they continued, because every object brought to the surface deepened the mystery. Marble horses emerged dripping with seawater. Bronze philosophers. Jewelry, coins, glassware, luxury furniture, gold ornaments. Massive amphorae from across the Mediterranean world. Statues of heroes, athletes, and gods. More than 36 major sculptures. It was not a normal cargo vessel. It was a floating treasure vault. Someone wanted these objects badly enough to transport them across dangerous waters. 1st century BCE, the final years of the Hellenistic world. The cargo was being transported toward wealthy Roman elites hungry for Greek art. But then came the storm. Wood cracked. Sails tore apart. Waves drove the ship into the cliffs of Antikythera.
Cargos más luose.
The vessel split open and disappeared beneath the sea for nearly 2,000 years. Or so they thought, because among the statues they found something else. First, it looked worthless, a corroded lump of bronze and wood, forgotten among crates of artifacts at the National Archaeological Museum. Then, months later, a museum worker noticed something impossible. Tiny gear teeth, perfectly cut bronze gears, ancient gears. Complex geared machinery was believed impossible for the ancient world. Inside an ancient shipwreck sat evidence of precision gears rivaling early clocks. Who made it? Why was it aboard the ship? How could such technology appear and then vanish from history? The fragments became known as the Antikythera mechanism. This was no ordinary cargo ship. It was carrying scientific devices, a machine capable of predicting the heavens themselves. If ancient engineers could build this 2,000 years ago, what else has been lost? For decades, the mysterious bronze fragments sat behind museum glass. Scholars argued for years over what they were actually looking at. Some believed the object was an astronomical clock. Others dismissed it as a navigational tool or decorative curiosity. The corrosion was so severe that much of the mechanism appeared fused into solid stone-like masses. Entire sections were missing. Wood from the original casing had almost completely disintegrated. And yet, the gears remained. More than 30 interlocking bronze gears. Precision cut, mathematically arranged.
Impossible.
Inside the laboratories of the National Archaeological Museum of Athens, researchers carefully separated fragments under magnification. Every new discovery deepened the mystery. Tiny Greek inscriptions emerged from the corrosion. Numbers, zodiac symbols, astronomical references. The object was not random machinery. It was calculating something. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything. In the 1950s, physicist Derek J. Price became obsessed with the fragments. Price understood both ancient history and mechanical engineering. He spent years studying X-rays of the mechanism, tracing hidden gears buried beneath corrosion where human eyes could not reach. What he discovered stunned the academic world. The machine was essentially an ancient analog computer. Not metaphorically, literally, could model celestial motion. Ancient craftsmen had engineered a portable mechanical cosmos, a device capable of predicting solar cycles, lunar phases, and eclipses. More than 2,000 years ago, centuries before mechanical clocks appeared in Europe, the front displayed the zodiac and calendar systems. Rotating pointers tracked the sun and moon across the heavens. Inside, differential gears calculated irregular lunar motion. One gear train modeled the 19-year Metonic cycle. Another predicted eclipses through the Saros cycle. The mathematics behind it was extraordinary. Ancient Greek philosophers like Archimedes and Hipparchus had advanced theories. But theories were one thing. Precision engineering was another entirely. Someone had transformed astronomical knowledge into moving metal. Someone possessed workshops capable of cutting intricate bronze gears. This machine did not appear experimental. It looked mature, refined. The mechanism may have been one example from a lost world of ancient instruments. Coins recovered from the site dated the sinking to roughly 60 BCE. Amphorae pointed toward origins in the eastern Mediterranean. Historians suspected the ship departed from Rhodes, a center of astronomy. Rhodes was famous for its schools of mathematics and mechanical innovation. Ancient Roman writers had described devices eerily similar to the mechanism. Cicero wrote about a machine built by Archimedes reproducing the heavens. By the 1st century BCE, the Greek world was collapsing under Roman expansion. Libraries burned. Workshops disappeared. Knowledge scattered. Mechanical complexity like this would not appear again for more than 1,000 years. New expeditions returning to Antikythera discovered something unexpected beneath the sediment. What if more mechanisms still remain hidden beneath the seabed? The deeper scientists studied the Antikythera mechanism, the more uncomfortable the questions became. Because the machine did not fit neatly into the accepted timeline of technological history, it shattered it. For generations, historians believed complex geared devices emerged gradually during medieval Europe. Mechanical clocks from the 14th century were considered revolutionary milestones in engineering evolution. Yet buried inside the Antikythera fragments were concepts many scholars thought impossible for the ancient world. Differential gearing, miniaturized precision mechanics, astronomical computation, all appearing in a shipwreck dating to the 1st century BCE, and then disappearing for over a millennium. That gap created intense debate. Some researchers argued the mechanism represented an isolated masterpiece built by one extraordinary inventor. Others strongly disagreed. The engineering was too refined, too confident, the inscriptions too systematic, the internal gear ratios too mathematically elegant. Machines do not usually emerge fully perfected. They evolve, which suggested something far more disturbing. The Antikythera mechanism may have belonged to an entire lost tradition of scientific engineering now erased from history. You begin to notice the implications spreading outward. If workshops existed capable of building devices like this, where are their tools? Their blueprints? Their apprentices? Some answers may lie in the violent instability of the ancient Mediterranean world. During the final centuries BCE, kingdoms collapsed one after another. The Roman Republic expanded aggressively across Greek territories. Cities were looted, libraries destroyed, intellectual centers scattered. Priceless manuscripts vanished into war, fire, and neglect. Perhaps the knowledge simply died with the people who held it. But not everyone accepted that explanation completely, because the mechanism itself contains mysteries researchers still cannot fully explain. Modern X-ray tomography revealed hidden inscriptions packed into impossibly tiny spaces. Thousands of Greek characters served almost like an instruction manual. Yet portions remain damaged or incomplete. Entire sections of the machine are missing. Scientists estimate only about 1/3 of the original device survives, which means nobody truly knows the mechanism's full capabilities. Some researchers believe the machine only tracked the sun, moon, and eclipses. Others suspect it also modeled the visible planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. If true, the engineering becomes even more astonishing, because planetary motion is irregular and extraordinarily difficult to calculate mechanically. In workshops and laboratories across Europe, teams began building replicas based on surviving fragments. Gear by gear, tooth by tooth. Every successful model revealed deeper genius hidden inside the ancient design. But every reconstruction also revealed uncertainty. Missing gears had to be guessed. Broken inscriptions interpreted. You are not looking at a complete machine. You are looking at a puzzle scattered across 2,000 years. Then came another unsettling twist. New underwater expeditions to the Antikythera wreck began uncovering evidence that the 1900 excavation barely scratched the surface. Archaeologists returned to the site in the 1970s and again in the 2010s with robotic imaging systems. The debris field stretched much farther than expected. Anchors appeared hundreds of meters apart. Human skeletons were discovered trapped within the wreckage itself. A machine designed to track the cosmos tumbling into black water. Lost for 2 millennia, the sea around Antikythera still keeps its secrets. Even now. More than a century after the first sponge divers surfaced trembling from the depths, archaeologists keep returning to the wreck site. They bring technologies the ancient Greeks could never have imagined. Autonomous vehicles scan the seabed with sonar. Robotic cameras descend into crevices unreachable to human divers. Exoskeleton diving suits let researchers stay underwater far longer than the men of 1900 ever could. And yet, the deeper they search, the more mysterious the wreck becomes. The Antikythera shipwreck is no longer viewed as a single isolated discovery. It is a time capsule from a vanished intellectual world. One recent expedition uncovered human bones preserved beneath layers of sand and collapsed timber. Teeth, skull fragments, arm bones. Ancient DNA may still survive inside them. Scientists may someday identify where the passengers came from genetically, perhaps revealing whether the ship carried Greek merchants, enslaved workers, Roman elites, or scholars. You imagine one of them standing aboard the vessel during its final night. Maybe someone understood what the mechanism truly was. Maybe someone protected it. Maybe someone watched in horror as the cargo shifted and the ship tilted toward disaster. Despite everything researchers know, enormous questions remain. Who built the mechanism? No signature survives. No surviving workshop has ever been found. No ancient text explicitly describes this exact device. Some scholars connect it to Rhodes, where astronomy and engineering flourished. Others point toward Hipparchus, whose lunar theories closely resemble calculations inside the mechanism. A few even wonder whether it descended from inventions linked to Archimedes himself. But there is no certainty, only fragments, and fragments can be deceptive. Why did this technology disappear? Why did the world seemingly lose it for over 1,000 years? Why are there not dozens of surviving mechanisms? Some historians believe the answer lies in the collapse of interconnected knowledge systems. Hellenistic science depended on wealthy patrons, craftsmen, schools, trade networks, and libraries. When those systems fractured under war and political upheaval, fragile traditions vanished generation by generation. Not through catastrophe alone, but through neglect, through forgetting. It is an unsettling thought. You imagine civilization moving forward continuously, each era building on the last. But the Antikythera mechanism suggests history is far more fragile. Entire branches of knowledge can disappear so completely that future societies forget they existed. Perhaps that is why the mechanism feels strangely modern. It forces you to confront the vulnerability of human memory itself. The wreck continues producing surprises. Divers recovered bronze spear fragments, statue pieces, jewelry, and ship equipment. Some archaeologists believe massive sections remain trapped under rocks and sand. There may be unopened chambers below the seabed, still hidden cargo, possibly even more parts of the mechanism. Imagine another fragment emerging tomorrow from the darkness. A missing gear proving the machine tracked planets with mechanical precision. Or inscriptions revealing its maker. Or evidence showing it was not unique. Everything we know about ancient technology could shift overnight. And the sea gives up its secrets slowly.